Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Unfiltered with Bridget
and Angie.
Today, we thought maybe we would talk about how to be ready or prepared to buy a house in 2026 with the new year here. Maybe you have new goals, new resolutions. I don't do resolutions. I don't believe in them.
No, I try to do goals because it makes me feel motivated. Do I always stick to them? Yeah, no, but
I stick to them better than resolutions.
Yeah, I don't really do resolutions because it's like the gym. People are like, I'm gonna go to the gym, and people do that for the first month, and then they don't actually do it. So it's
hey, I give them credit. I can't even do a month.
Right.
I'm like day 3. Peace out.
Right. But I think it's important if people have on their vision board, we're going to do a vision board party. If they have a vision board and they say, okay, I want to save $10,000, or I want to buy a house, or I need to save up for a car, or,
fix my credit.
Yeah, fix my credit. I mean, that's a big one. And I mean, most people don't even know about credit, and that'll be a whole other episode that we talk about, because credit is I feel like that's very understood. People don't understand credit. Right. They don't think it affects them until they try and buy something. And then they realize, oh, I don't have credit. Or, oh, I didn't think that their credit card account was 18 still hurt my credit. Well, it did. Right. So, I mean, that'd be a whole other thing, but it's one thing to have, that vision, but another thing is how do you actually make it come true? Because we're in the business of making that dream, come true, or maybe it isn't a dream. Maybe it's their goal to buy a house this year because you're getting married, or you're growing a family, you need more room, or your rent is astronomical and you want to find a place that's your own,
right.
whatever your goals are for 26, how do you get it from pen and paper to actual life? I think is a big thing. So if you're thinking you want to buy a house this spring or this summer, what do you think is the ideal time frame realistically that they should start looking? Like, it's one thing to get pre-approved. I mean, we'll go a little bit into detail on that too, but if they're going to look at a house, how long do you think that process usually takes from approval to actually getting a contract accepted?
From getting pre-approved to getting a contract accepted?
Yeah, so we're going to do it the right way. We're going to get pre-approved first.
Yes. Do
pre-approved
not look
first
at houses without a pre-approval
before you shop for a house.
Correct.
We say that a million times, and there's a reason why we say it. And again, we'll get some more detail on that too, but there's a reason why it goes in these steps. So let's just fast forward a little bit to they're pre-approved. How long do you work with your clients, I should say, that are shopping for homes? Because you work with a lot of first-time home buyers, so they're all in that same price range.
Yep.
Realistically, under 175 to 250-ish is usually
the first-time home buyer range. Yeah.
So what are you seeing right now with your current clients, and how long it takes to find a house?
Currently, it is taking a while just because there's not much inventory that is currently out there. And I mean, it's hard to find everything on your checklist. So it is taking a little bit of time. So don't, get your pre-approval and expect to find a house within a month. Does it happen? Yes. I've had one buyer, and it was her first house that she purchased, and she looked at the house for the first time. She wanted to write an offer.
Well then.
Yeah.
So I was like, knew what they wanted.
That was quick. And I'm like, how about we just look at a couple other houses to get a couple under your feet to make sure that that's the one you want. So she said, okay, that's fine, I guess. Ultimately, we looked at 2 other houses, and she's like, no, I still want that one. I'm ready to make an offer. And we did. So I worked with her for 30, 35 days of that.
That's like the shortest client that you've had.
That's the shortest client I've had. The longest client I have had has been 4 years. And you know who you are if you're watching this.
and that's not to scare you either, though.
No,
if you're looking to buy a house, but this client was a move-up buyer.
Correct.
So there's a difference. When you're a move-up buyer, you have different needs than a first-time home buyer, typically. So you have higher expectations, or you just need something more. So those can be harder to find.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, they had a specific area they wanted to purchase in, a specific house style that they wanted. And I mean, it just goes to show you that, if you don't buy the first house, the second house, the 20th house, I'm still here.
Right. There's no you have to get this done right now. And that's how, when you're pre-approved too, your credit report does expire. Once you're pre-approved, it's good for 4 months, so 120 days. Ideally, you want to get it renewed every 90 days, only because it takes about 30 days, to close between when you get the offer accepted and closing. It can be faster if we need it to be, but typically it's about a 30-day turnaround time. And the last thing you want is credit to expire halfway through the process, and then your credit comes in worse because something hit or something. Because you and I just had that with a client where they had excellent credit, and then a student loan hit that they weren't aware of, and it destroyed everything. Like, we fixed it the best that we could, but it threw a huge wrench, in the process. You want to make sure that, thankfully, we caught that before it got too far. We were able to fix it, but not everything is black and white, and that's why to set yourself up for success to buy in the upcoming year is to get pre-approved now. So even if you don't want to buy a house for 6 months, 9 months, if you get pre-approved now, you at least know what you can afford, or even if you are approved, and then you can start looking. And if the right house hits the market now, because now is a good time to look, because there's not as much movement, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Because it's the winter time. Most people aren't doing much, especially for people who have kids in school. I mean, is that kind of what you're saying? Is people who they don't want to do a lot, unless they're seeing this in school district, nobody wants to really move while their kids are in school. They don't want to change schools halfway through the school year, typically.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're in a smaller town, you're not really going to change school districts. But, around the holidays, you're going to find that a lot of people don't want to move just because of everything going on. And especially if you have kids in school, because you've got the concerts, you've got
sports, especially if they're in sports. I mean, basketball is going on right now.
Oh, I remember basketball days.
Yeah. All the things. So you got so much going on. So it's not as many people are moving, but people are still selling.
Right. And here's a word of advice I heard over Christmas from my son-in-law to my youngest daughter.
Oh boy.
Because we've been on her to buy a house.
Yes.
Okay. Because she's 20, and it's good to buy a house, kind of be independent, show that you can be independent. You have this house, you can, sell it down the road and make money, or you can keep it as a rental, whatever it is that you choose to do. Start young, start early. But we were talking to her about a house, and I told her she needs to call Angie, see what she can get pre-approved for. And she's like, I just don't know. I don't know. What if I don't want to stay here? What if I do this? Or what if I do that? And Colton, my son-in-law, goes, it's really not that deep.
You're overthinking it. But if you don't stay here, I mean, then you can sell it.
Correct.
And or it could be an investment property,
And that's where it kind of led into that, is it's not that deep. Keep it as a rental property.
You're not buying your forever home right away. I mean, most people don't buy their first home and stay in there forever. Typically, it's usually within like 5 to 7 years, they sell their first house and buy a new one. Correct. Typically.
Yep.
That's like the average is most people don't keep their first home. Sometimes they keep it for a rental property. Like your daughter kept her house and still has it. It's been almost 10 years. And that's a whole other thing too that we'll get into on how to use real estate, for income.
Yep. So, I mean, really, it's, in the words of Colton, it really isn't that deep. And I do, with working with first-time home buyers, you do go down that rabbit hole of what if, and you do overthink stuff. And I get it. It is scary. It is. It's just, and having that right person to guide you to find the house, guide you through the loan process, is very important. That's why, we harp on it enough. Make sure you are comfortable with your realtor, your lender. Interview a couple different realtors and lenders just to get the knowledge, and then go with one that best fits your needs. So I would say, that's your first step, is reaching out to a realtor or a couple of them, lender, then get that pre-approval. And then, just put it in your mind of, let's just go, let's have fun. Let's look at houses, right?
Right. Yeah. Because at that point, then at least you know that you are looking at homes within your price range. Like, sometimes I get clients that come in that are first-time home buyers that don't even think they have enough credit to qualify, or they don't have, the funds saved up for down payment. They think, we just want to just roughly look at things. And then not every time, but a lot of times they walk out pre-approved and like, oh, I had no idea. It's not as deep as people make it out. And that's a great point. It's not that deep. Like, you're overthinking it, but I'm the queen of overthinking. I overanalyze everything. Like, it's just what I do. So I get how you can get down that rabbit hole, but sometimes the first step is just make the phone call, or the text. People prefer to text. Yeah, totally fine. Yep. It's just making that initial outreach, because you don't want to do it backwards. You don't want to find the house and then get pre-approved. And then for some reason you can't because you haven't been with your job long enough, or you're self-employed hasn't been long enough, or there's a lot of things that can not go in your favor, that if you'd have been pre-approved first, you would have known about that. So you don't want to find the house, fall in love with it, and then come to me like, well, you got to wait 6 months, Yep. So that's one way, is to set yourself up for success, is to plan ahead and just knowing what you can be approved for. And then the fun really, I mean, I think it's fun to look at
fun.
houses. I mean, it has its ups and downs, I'm sure, but you don't want to waste a realtor's time either by looking at 15 homes and then realizing that you couldn't even get pre-approved to buy the first house you looked at.
Well, and it's not only, the realtor's time that I wouldn't necessarily say wasting, but I mean, if you can't afford it, yes, it is. But it's also the sellers, right? So put yourself in the position of selling a home and, oh my gosh, I have a showing. Maybe this is the one that's going to write an offer. Maybe it's going to be this buyer, so you're getting the seller's hopes up. And here you can't even afford the house. Like, the sellers have to leave the house.
They got, take their kids, their animals,
whatever it is, get the house show ready and all of that to leave. And then to find out that that buyer wasn't pre-approved for that amount, it is kind of disheartening. So pre-approval is the first thing. You should not be looking at houses without a pre-approval. And that's fine if you don't know what you want, what you're looking for. And if you think looking at houses ahead of time just to kind of get an idea of what you want, don't do it.
Right.
We'll do that after we got the letter from Angie or any other lender.
Right.
We'll go through and we'll see what you like and what you don't like. And it's usually what happens. We narrow it down. Oh, I don't like this part of town, or I don't like this style of home, or, whatever it is.
I need to be in this school district.
Correct.
I mean, that's a big thing too. Yeah. So if you go in with a blank slate, you just start narrowing it down. Correct. And that's kind of where the fun, because sometimes you don't know what you don't like until you get yourself into there. Because if you've lived in an apartment your entire life, I mean, homes are going to be a lot different. If you lived at your parents' house and you're moving out of your parents' house, you're only used to what they've had.
Correct.
Like I know when I bought my first house, I grew up in a 2-story house. So I thought I don't want a ranch. I don't want my bedrooms or my kitchen is like, or I have guests come over, they can see my bedroom. So I bought a 2-story because I felt like that's what I had to do. It just seemed like the right type of house to get. And then we got a ranch as our second house. We moved out of that one to a ranch house, and it's so much better, So it's like, you don't know what you don't like until you're already, in that home shopping range, and that's and then you can go to open houses, you can look at open house that way too and kind of get a feel for, okay, this isn't in a price range, but do we like the kitchens, here? I mean, there's so many different styles of houses too. Correct. So it's just, that's, I think, where a lot of the fun comes in is looking.
And for those of you that don't know, I cannot write an offer without a pre-approval letter from a lender.
So it has to be attached to the offer.
Yes, it does. Yeah. It needs to be attached to be taken seriously. They may receive our offer without the pre-approval, but it's not going to be taken seriously until we have one. And 9 times out of 10, not necessarily even.
They won't even review it probably, huh?
Right. Yeah. Without being pre-approved. So, you're going to need something. So don't find that house that you fall in love with and then call a lender.
Right.
Because then we may not be able to write on that offer or on that house. So.
Right. And then, then it puts a lot of unnecessary pressure on everybody, and then you're going into the transaction stressed out. And that's what you want to try to avoid. And that's, again, how to be successful is to get everything, is to plan ahead. I mean, just planning out, and sometimes you don't even know what price range you can shop for in,
Correct.
Because it's one thing to look at a mortgage payment, but then also you have to think there's taxes, there's homeowners insurance, and then there's usually private mortgage insurance for those who put less than 20% down. Again, we'll get more into detail, on other segments that we do. But encompassing your whole monthly payment, you don't want to be house poor. And that's the biggest thing, is if you become indebted to your home, or you can't live your life anymore, like let's say you love to travel, or you just you like to go to all the football games, or you have a collection of whatever you do, that if your mortgage depends on most of your income, you're going to resent buying that house. And then you're going to get cold feet, you're going to get buyer's remorse, and then you're going to try and get out of the contract, and then things get messy. So it's really important to know what you're comfortable with each month for a monthly payment. And I know you ask this for all your clients too, is what is, in your price range wise, what is your max budget and what is your comfortable budget? Because those are two very different things.
Absolutely.
And you want to know that, because then that helps kind of set the ballpark of what you're shopping in.
Yep.
But do you want to talk a bit about what that can do for an offer? If you what your max budget is versus what you're comfortable, how that can work together?
Yeah. So back when the market was super crazy and there were bidding wars, and there still are, if the home is priced right for the condition of the home, then you're going to see a bidding war. Or if the house is priced below market value for some reason. So in those types of situations, the things I always ask my client is, what are you pre-approved for? I don't care what your budget is at that specific time. I just want to know what you're pre-approved for. So that way, if we have to bid or get into a bidding war, I know how high we can go. Then my next question to you is, where are you comfortable at? What is the price that you're comfortable at, that you can afford the home and you can still afford to throw your parties or travel or, whatever it is that you want to do? Because then that will help me say, kind of guide you to, okay, maybe this house isn't going to work because we're going to have to go a lot higher than what you're comfortable with. And that, there's options that we can also do.
Get creative to make it, a little bit more budget friendly.
Correct. And I've done that several times actually with Angie. I have, after showings or during showings, I have made the phone call to say, let's get, creative here. Or late nights.
Right.
All of a sudden I have an idea. I'm like, wait, will this work for the buyer? And she always answers. And, we can work creatively together and it works. Like, we have gotten some houses based on some of our creativity. So
yeah, but it's important to not become house poor.
Correct.
Because a house is listed at 200, it may go higher than 200, so you want to make sure that you have the room to wiggle if you need to. But if you don't have the room, then it's best to not. I mean, you can still try. There's nothing that you can't put an offer in, but just to be a little bit realistic on the
correct.
on the
Yeah, you don't
forefront
want to go into it and make an offer and then it gets accepted and then you talk to Angie and go, or any other lender and go, oh no,
my payment's gonna be what?
I can't go out to dinner every Thursday.
Right. Right. And that's one thing that I do offer to all my clients too, is if you find a home that you love and you're going to put an offer in on it, text me the address. I will pull the tax bill. I'll pull the pricing, because pricing can change every day. I'll update the loan amount, the interest rate, and the taxes. And I'll tell you what your payment would be if your offer was accepted. That way you go in feeling confident in that house, because the tax bills can vary drastically. Even in the city of Beaver Dam, they're huge. They vary so much. So the tax is a really key thing that can really make or break, a thing too. So to look at that can really help too. But to make you feel more comfortable, I mean, you can text me anytime. I mean, that takes me 2 minutes to change it. And then your letter can match your offer. All the things kind of coincide, but you'll go in feeling more confident, or going like, ooh, I didn't think it'd be that much. Let's pump the brakes on that. Because you don't want to put in an offer, have it get accepted, and then find out that you really don't want to make that payment each month. If that happens, then you can get creative and make things, try and figure it out. Right. But it's best to be, to know that on the forefront before going too far into the process.
Correct. And, by me asking, what are you pre-approved to and what is your budget? Where are you comfortable spending? Helps me too, because then when a house does hit the market and I see it and I kind of know where you're at financially, before I even talk to you about that house, I will email, text, or call Angie if you're her buyer and say, okay, this is where they want to stay, thoughts. And she'll be like, yeah, not going to work, or yeah, it's going to work, or it'll work if, so then I already have that knowledge before I talk to you and before we go and look at that property. So that's why it's very helpful. What are you pre-approved up to and where are you comfortable spending? And what are you comfortable spending? So I don't want you to be house poor. I'm not in it just to make a sale.
Right. And that's what I asked too for pre-approval too, is what are you comfortable paying each month? If you don't know, that's totally fine. Then we start at the absolute max that we can approve you at, and then we kind of figure it out from there. Or you go home and look at your finances, look at your budget, what you make each month, and kind of figure it out from there. And that's the key thing to why you want to get pre-approved first, because there's so much unknown in that process that you really iron things out, and then you have a better footing for when you start to look at houses. So that's really, and that's the key thing that we're trying to get through today, is why you need to get pre-approved, because it shows you everything related to credit. How's your credit score? Do you have a credit score? Because if people are coming in and buying houses that are 19, 20 years old, not everybody at that age has a credit score yet.
Correct.
Or maybe you're older and you've bought everything in cash, because people are terrified of debt, which is fine. I mean, debt's not, the best thing in the world, but a payment history is really what creates a credit score, which helps us show your ability to repay, which is what helps you buy a house. So if we can show your ability to repay, that's kind of how you get approved for a mortgage. If you bought everything in cash, you don't have a credit score. Okay, let's pivot. Let's do, let's check out some different things, or how can we build you a credit score so you can buy a house? But it's important to know these things now, honestly. Correct. Even if you don't want to buy a house for a year, then start now and work on it, and then start to look at houses and get a feel for what you're looking for. And then when that right house does hit, you're ready. You can just jump right in to put in an offer on that house.
Absolutely. Yeah. Always good to be prepared. Like I just a little bit ago got a call from an out-of-state buyer who is looking to move here. And he kind of knows what he wants to do, but he wanted to connect with a realtor to kind of see the best steps. So he is thinking about getting a rental for 6 months to kind of know which area he wants to live in because he's not sure which city. So he kind of wants to be here, which is very smart, and then kind of look at houses in different cities to kind of see where he wants to land. And so he wanted to know the steps. So I said, okay, I will talk to some of my investors that I know have rentals to see if there's an opening. And then once you're here, or even before, I recommend connecting with a lender, just to get your pre-approval to kind of see where you're going to fall in between. And then we can start setting up automated emails for those cities that you're potentially interested in and what your specifics for a house, like how many bedrooms, how many baths, fenced yard, garage, all of that. We can set up specifications. So those are the steps that you definitely want to do. So, he's preparing. He's not looking to come here until I think he said like February, March.
Okay.
So, so he just kind of wanted to talk to a realtor to start getting stuff put into place. So, and he's got the right mindset of,
Right. Yeah, and reach out to a realtor first. I mean, it isn't a no. I mean, you can do that because then your realtor then guides you to lenders that they have used, so they can help coach you on especially if it comes from out of state.
Right.
They have no idea who to contact, and then the market may be way different where he lives versus coming into our market. So sometimes calling a realtor first and they say, hey, I work great with so-and-so here, here, and here,
Yep.
And kind of work your way around there and then do phone calls, talk to everybody that they recommend, and then kind of figure out who you're going to vibe with. It's not everybody's personalities are going to mesh. Everybody has different personalities. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, that's a thing that, you can ask your friends and your family who they used, who they recommend, and that's great. But keep in mind that your situation is different than their situation.
Right.
So also getting recommendations from a realtor is probably, better just because
it's a professional recommendation.
Correct.
It's coming from a professional.
Correct. We've done, a lot of transactions with certain lenders, so we know what's going to work, what's not going to work, or, kind of what that lender's strength is or what that lender's weakness is. And then knowing a little bit about your history will kind of also help us give you a good recommendation.
Right.
But even based off that, I still say, just get the information, from a couple different realtors and lenders, because believe it or not, if you talk to a different lender, they might say something that you didn't think to ask the first time. So then if it is Angie that you want to work with, then you can go, I do want to work with Angie, but I do want this question answered. So it helps.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The online lender route is not always the best route to take.
And if you do reach out to the lender first, ask who the lender recommends for a realtor.
Yeah, vice versa, because we work with a lot of realtors, and some of them we would recommend, some of them we're like, ooh, it's the same way with lenders too. Like you work with some great ones, you work with some not so great ones, so then you can kind of create that trust if you ask a professional on who you should use, so depending on who you reach out to first, it really doesn't make a difference, but
right. Yeah.
Getting that process started is what's going to really get you ready to buy anytime within the next year or so, like moving forward too.
Yep, absolutely. So it's always good to get recommendations from friends and families, but then it is also good to get a recommendation from a professional that is in that industry who has worked with those people as well. So
yeah. So if your vision board or your goal or whatever you set for yourself for the new year is to buy a house or to save money to buy a house, or anything related to home ownership, I would recommend plan out your budget. That's going to be the biggest thing is what do you think you could afford each month? You don't got to go down the rabbit hole of rates and payments and all that, but what do you think comfortably? Look at what you do, every day. Like what do you go on vacation every single year? Do you guys enjoy, going for dinner every Saturday night or whatever your life is currently? Map out that budget. What does it look like for you each month? And then add a mortgage payment on top of that. Are you comfortable? If you think it's like, and then kind of work your way that way and then bring those numbers into me, or into your lender. And then at that point, we can really give you an idea of what your purchase price range could be. And we can get, a little bit more on the nitty gritty of all the things involved. But I think your homework would be, if you want to buy a house in this upcoming year, what do you think your budget could be? I think it's a good start because you're going to know that when we start looking at houses too, is budget is key, figure that part out. And then we'll talk about the credit. We'll talk about the credit scores. We'll talk about down payment and, options for that and savings and all the things. But I think the biggest thing is in a perfect world, if you get approved today, are you comfortable paying $1,500 a month? Do you want to try to keep payment at $1,000 a month? Are you comfortable up to $3,000 a month? I mean, the ranges can be wherever, but look at your budget and what do you think would be comfortable for you? Because you don't want to get buyer's remorse or house poor. Because once you're in a contract, it's not so easy to get out of it.
It is a legally binding contract.
Yes.
And to get out of it, you could potentially be sued, or the seller may not want to let you out of it, and then now you're still stuck to buy it. I have had that happen.
So that's not to scare you, but it's a very real thing, because the offer to purchase is legally binding. Yep. So doing your homework ahead of time can really prepare you for, what you're looking to do come, this year. It is 2026 now. So yeah, I don't want to get too nitty gritty on all the loan programs. I feel like that's more of a personal, like when you're in the office, then you really like deep dive into all that kind of stuff because it's a lot. I mean, we have over 100 loan programs. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
So, that could be 100 episodes. Just talk about, I can read the guidelines.
And I can take a nap.
I love guidelines, though. I love education. I love learning about all the programs, and they're constantly changing, which is every single week there's changes to programs.
Yeah. So, and I just let you tell me about it.
Exactly. Education is key, especially when your lender's educated and then they can educate you.
She's educated on many things.
I know the things. I do the reading. I love to read.
Tell us, what do you all like to read?
Guidelines.
And?
Fantasy books.
Oh, right. We'll keep it PG.
I love reading. Except for like the war books. I don't, that's not my thing. Like the history books, like about like World War II and stuff. I don't, nope. I don't like the killing in those, but then I read about torture and ours. So,
Dark romance. I mean, some of that's pretty dark.
Yeah. The nails in the eyeballs. Gross. Looks really gross outside.
Is it for Real Estate Unfiltered. Sorry we were not that funny today.
Right.
But we have a speaker coming up.
Yes. You want Unfiltered? Let me tell you.
It's going to be
so next week we have a guest speaker coming on for chimneys. Because I see a lot on my Facebook feed, from the Beaver Dam Fire Department and Mayville and everywhere about chimney fires. I mean, they are very common, very real, and there's ways that you can prevent them. So we are going to bring in our first guest speaker next week, Rodney Stanton with Daisy Sweeps. He's going to kind of talk about how to prevent chimney fires, how to properly light a fire, what not to do. But yeah, the unfiltered part is definitely going to come alive. But the thing is what I love about him is he is a no fuss Gus. Like it's just
that's something your grandma says.
No fuss Gus. But he tells you how it is.
He does.
Whether you want to hear it or not, may be a different thing.
You don't want to hear it. Trust me, I've had to hear it.
He is honest, brutally honest
and fair.
But if you don't want your house to burn down, it's really good to know, even if you don't own a home, if you're renting a home that has a fireplace, your landlords may appreciate, learning that you learn how to properly light the fire. I'm sure there's more things to talk about, like chimneys and all that kind of stuff. But I think the biggest thing is that we really want to touch base on how to properly light a fire, because he told us a couple weeks ago about it, and I learned a lot. I don't have a wood burning fireplace. Do you have a wood burning? You do.
I do.
Yeah, I have an electric one, so that doesn't pertain to me. My old house had a wood burning one in it, and we never used it until like the last year we owned it because we were afraid to use it. And then I met Rodney, and then I learned how to use it. Because they're really great to use if you know how to use it properly.
Correct. Yeah, he's already visited and cleaned my chimney.
Yeah.
Put a new liner in it and a new vent cap and all of that. So I know it's safe to use.
Yeah. So then you can at least light it and enjoy it and not have to be worried, because I didn't know there's a thing that's cold smoke. I don't know. So Rodney will be here next week talking with us about chimneys and all things related to that and how to be safe with the chimney. So buckle up for that one. It's going to be great.
Like, follow, and subscribe.
Yes, we'll be posting new content every Wednesday. So if you want to see more of what we have to post and more guest speakers, more information coming up, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. And then any questions you have, anything you want us to touch base on, or anything you want Rodney to talk about, put in the comments below and make sure that we get all of that addressed as soon as possible. Yep. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.